teaching class after class, year after year, that with all this proliferation of publishing and so-called educational techniques, students are without as much care to the written word and the spoken word as was the case that I can distinctly remember years ago. Now perhaps other teachers have had a different experience, but I've watched this in my classes. And the usual answer that I get when I speak to my colleagues about this is, well, the problem's in the high schools. And then you talk to a poor high school,
and it's around school.
And then he puts it on the poor grade school. So we have poor grade school, poor high school, poor college, poor university, because we're always picking up where we left off, which is a little lower next year from where it was before.
So that's why I've taught in various universities and so on and so on. I've always felt, what are we being educated for? To become glorified clerks?
Well, that's what it turns out to be.
Of course it is. Glorified businessmen or God knows what else. What for? I mean, if I have a son, that would be a tremendous problem for me. Fortunately, I haven't got it, but it would be a burning question to me. What am I to do with the children that I have? To send to all these schools where they are taught nothing but just how to read and write a book and how to memorize, and forget the whole field of life. They're taught about sex and reproduction, all that kind of stuff, but what? So I feel, sir, I mean, to me this is a tremendously important question, because I'm concerned with several schools in India, and in England there's one, and we're going to form one here in California. It is a burning question. What is it that we are doing with our children? Making them into another robots or into other clever, cunning clerks? Great scientists who will invent this or that and then be ordinary, cheap little human beings? Shoddy minds? You follow, sir?
I am.
So, when you talk about beauty, can a human being tell another, educate another to grow in beauty, grow in goodness, to flower in great affection, care? Because if we don't do that, we're destroying the earth, as it is happening now, polluting the air. We human beings are destroying everything we touch. So this becomes a very, very serious thing when we talk about beauty, when we talk about pleasure, fear, relationship, order, and so on, all that. None of these things are being taught in any school.
No, I brought that up in my class yesterday, and I asked them directly that very question. And they were very ready to agree that here we are, we're in an upper division course, and we've never heard about this. And
tragic, you follow, sir?
And furthermore, we don't know whether we're really hearing it for what it really is, because we haven't heard about it. We've got to go through that yet to find out whether we're really listening. And
whether the teacher or the man who is professor is honest enough to say, look, I don't know. I'm going to learn about all this. So that is why Western civilization, I'm not condemning it, I'm observing.
Oh, no.
Western civilization is mainly concerned with commercialism, consumerism, and a society that is immoral.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about the transformation of man, not in the field of knowledge or in the field of time, but beyond that, who are interested in this? You follow, sir? Who really cares about it? Because the mother goes off to earn a job, earn a livelihood, the father goes off, and the child is just an incident.
Now, as a matter of fact, I know this will probably appear like an astonishingly extravagant statement for me to make, but I think it's getting to the place now where if anyone raises this question at the level that you have been raising it, as a young person, say growing up in his adolescent years, let us say, and he won't let it go. He hangs in there with it, as we say. The question is seriously raised whether he's normal.
Yes, quite.
And it makes one think of Socrates, who was very clear that he knew only one thing that he didn't know, and he didn't have to say that very often, but he said it even the few times enough to get him killed. But at least they took him seriously enough to kill him. Today, I think he'd be put in some institution for study. It would have to be, the whole thing would have to be checked out.
That's what's happening in Russia. They send him off to an asylum,
that's right,
mental hospital, and destroy him.
Yeah.
Here, we neglect everything for some superficial gain. Money. Money means power, position, authority, everything. Money.
It goes back to the success thing that you mentioned before. Always later. Always later. On a horizontal axis. Yes. So, but when you, excuse me,
please.
I did want to share with you, as you were speaking about nature, something that has a sort of wry humor about it in terms of the history of scholarship. I thought of those marvelous Vedic hymns to dawn.
Oh, yes.
Which, Dakshina, that the way dawn comes, rosy-fingered, and scholars have expressed surprise that the number of hymns to her are, by comparison, few, compared with some other gods. But the attention is drawn in the study not to the quality of the hymn as revealing how it is that there's such consummately beautiful cadences associated with her, for which you'd only need one, wouldn't you? You wouldn't need 25. The important thing is, isn't it remarkable that we have so few hymns, and yet they're so wonderfully beautiful? What has the number to do with it at all? Is the thing that I could never get answered for myself in terms of the environment in which I studied Sanskrit and the Veda. The important thing is to find out which god, in this case Indra, is in the Rig Veda mentioned most often. Now, of course, I'm not trying to suggest that quantity should be overlooked, but by no means. But if the question had been approached the way you have been inquiring into it, deeper, then I think scholarship would have had a very, very different career. We should have been taught how to sit and let that hymn disclose itself and stop.